What happens when your teenage child, your nephew, your niece, or even your neighbor's child comes back from school, drops a brand new history textbook on the table, looks you straight in the eye and asks, "Why couldn't I find the history of my people in this book?" What do you say? Do you laugh it off? Do you blame the school? Do you tell them to focus on exams? Or do you pause because suddenly you realize this is not a small question? This is not curiosity. This is identity knocking on the door. This is the story of Nigerians of Igbo origin. Stay with us as we unravel how the Nigerian government approved a history curriculum where Igbo history is either missing or dangerously minimized. And we must ask carefully, calmly, and honestly, is this just negligence or is something deeper unfolding?
You know, Igbos are the most worthless tribe in Nigeria. Yeah, you heard it. Igbos are the most worthless tribe in Nigeria. Get angry all you like, but they are just all mouth and no depth, just mouth. Because if they are not, why should this be happening in Nigeria right now?
Some are even asking a question many are afraid to say out loud. Could this be a sign that Biafra is quietly, indirectly being pushed onto the southeastern people? Let's talk. At first glance, it sounds like a joke, a textbook error, a publishing mistake, an oversight that can be corrected, but history does not work that way. Because when children cannot see themselves in a nation's story, they don't just forget facts. They begin to question belonging, and that is where real danger starts. The return of history and the shock. For years, Nigerians complained that history was removed from schools. Many believed it was deliberate, a way to avoid uncomfortable conversations about the past. So when history was finally reintroduced into the Nigerian curriculum, people were hopeful, parents were relieved, teachers were excited, students were curious, until the books arrived, and then the whispers started. Where is Igbo history? Why is everything so shallow? Why are some stories detailed and others barely mentioned? This wasn't outrage at first. It was confusion. Igbo parents began flipping through pages, looking for pre-colonial Igbo societies, looking for trade systems, looking for political structures, looking for the Civil War, not the sanitized version, but context. And many came up empty-handed. So the question shifted from confusion to concern. Is the Igbo story being intentionally written out of Nigeria's official memory? Children learn more from what is not said than from what is explained. If a history book talks extensively about Nigeria, but barely acknowledges the Igbo experience, what conclusion does a 14-year-old draw? That their people were irrelevant? That they were spectators? That they arrived late to the Nigerian story? No teacher needs to say it. The silence says it for them. The first reaction: ban the books. In response, some Igbo voices began calling for a ban on the history textbooks across schools in the southeast. The logic is simple. If our story is not respected, we reject the book. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Is it really that easy? Can the southeast just ban a federally approved textbook?
You know, Igbos are the most worthless tribe in Nigeria. Yeah, you heard it. Igbos are the most worthless tribe in Nigeria. Get angry all you like, but they are just all mouth and no debt, just mouth. Because if they are not, why should this be happening in Nigeria right now? Why should this be happening? You know how they told us that they removed history from the Nigerian curriculum because they didn't want sentiment, because of the war, the civil war. But history just got reintroduced to the Nigerian educational system. And guess what? Guess what they put inside here? See, before now, my son came and asked me, I said, Dad, I thought Igbos were the third biggest tribe in Nigeria. I said, yes. He said, how come there is no Igbo in their history book? I was shocked. I took their book and I looked at it. All the history of all the major tribes in Nigeria. We have the Hausa state, Kanuri Empire, Nupe, Igala, Yorubas, Benin Kingdom, Efik, Niger Delta, and Shekiri. No Igbo. For a tribe that has almost 5 to 6 states in Nigeria, no Igbo whatsoever. The painful part of it is that, you see this Efik here? No, I beg, Efik people want to know vessel. But see this Efik here? Then put them on purpose. It was put here on purpose to let the Igbos know that we know what we are doing and we are worthless. I don't want to talk about the people that wrote the book, but this is the junior secondary school revised. This is the junior secondary school revised standard edition, JS1. The funny part is that our biggest flex as Igbos is just 2 things: to build houses and paint them white so we can show them every December on Twitter, on social media, and of course name our children Jewish names. That's the only thing that we know how to do best right now. Because if this is happening, like, we have been erased from our history. Rubbish.
Education in Nigeria does not operate on emotions. It operates on federal approval, curriculum, textbooks, exams. Even if schools want to teach Igbo history properly, even if teachers are willing, even if communities write their own materials, without federal approval, it cannot be officially taught. So banning the books creates another problem. What replaces them? Silence again? Teachers are not the enemy here. Many teachers know the gaps. They see the imbalance. They feel the tension. But teachers cannot wake up one morning and decide to rewrite history. They teach what is approved. They test what is approved. They are evaluated on what is approved. Even if Igbo history is written beautifully, if Abuja does not approve it, it does not exist officially. That's the system, the governors, and the painful silence. Now let's talk about leadership. While parents argue, while youths debate, while communities worry, what are Southeastern governors doing? Press statements, political alliances, strategic silence, busy playing politics, busy positioning for elections, busy negotiating relevance, while an entire people are being quietly edited out of the national story taught to their children. This silence is loud. If leaders cannot defend a people's history, how will they defend their future? This starts looking like a joke. Memes, Twitter arguments, short outrage cycles, but time does something dangerous. It normalizes injustice. 1 year passes, another cohort of students graduates, another generation grows up without structured knowledge of who they are, and suddenly, the absence feels normal. Imagine a future where an Igbo child knows more about European history than their own, not because they are lazy, but because the system decided what was worth teaching. What happens then? Confusion, anger, detachment. A people unsure of their place cannot fully commit to a nation. This is where things get sensitive. Some are asking, is this how Biafra returns, not through war, but through quiet alienation? Not by force, not by declaration, but by pushing a people to emotionally disconnect. When a group feels unseen long enough, separation stops sounding radical. It starts sounding logical. This does not mean secession is inevitable, But pretending the question doesn't exist is dangerous. Are we addressing the root causes of separatist feelings, or just reacting to the symptoms, the pain of self-inflicted wounds? As if marginalization from the center is not enough, many Igbo people feel abandoned by leaders they themselves elected. Leaders who campaign on identity, leaders who speak unity during elections, leaders who go quiet when it matters most. This hurts differently because it feels like betrayal from within. History as power. Control history and you control narrative. Control narrative and you control legitimacy. This is why history is political everywhere in the world. Nigeria is not unique. But Nigeria is fragile, and fragile nations cannot afford selective memory. What this means for Nigeria, this is not an Igbo-only issue. Today, it's Igbo history. Tomorrow, it could be another group. When any people are erased, the nation shrinks. Unity built on omission is not unity. It is postponement. What should happen without drama? This does not require violence. It does not require hate. It does not require threats. It requires honest curriculum review, inclusive historians from all regions, public transparency, courage to teach uncomfortable truths. A strong country does not fear its past. It learns from it.